Hey guys, it's me Chris and I am back again, and this week we are reviewing the 90s horror classic Scream, directed by the McDaddy of horror films, Wes Craven. This movie was a 90s icon and it came out right at the point where most horror movies were sequels of sequels that were going direct to video, and the movie really reinvigorated and rebooted the whole entire horror genre, and I freaking loved it. The movie stars Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox and David Arquette, as well as a big cast of supporting actors as well, most of them who get sliced and diced pretty early on. The biggest shocker in the whole film, though, was at the time that it came out, Drew Barrymore was still like a huge icon in the movies, and she was originally cast to play the role of Sydney, which Neve Campbell played, and in actual fact she turned around and said, no, I want to be the person that dies in the first scene. Let's really fuck with everybody's heads. So, yeah. The plot for the movie is pretty much as typical horror movie as you can get. Small town, lovely, idyllic, everybody knows everyone else. One little downside, there happens to be a serial killer going about killing everyone. So all of it focuses around the character of Sydney Prescott, who's played by Neve Campbell, whose mother had died a year before the movie actually took place, and slowly as the movie is evolving, we tend to find that perhaps her mother's murder wasn't quite what we thought it was at the beginning. And it all sort of untangles from there. The great part about this movie is that yes, it is a horror movie. Yes, it follows all the stereotypical horror movie cliches. The awesome thing about it, which is to me reminded me a lot of Cabin in the Woods now, is that it follows a lot of the same patterns as the horror movies, but it also points it out and kind of in a way takes the piss out of it. Having watched the movie so many times, when I went back and watched it again, there's actually a scene where Randy, he's kind of classed as the best friend, the male best friend character, and Stu, are actually in the video store. And if you go back after you've seen the movie a few times and listen to their conversation, they're essentially telling you the whole entire plot and who is the killer in the movie. So it's actually really brilliantly done. Another awesome bit in the movie is how Jamie Kennedy's character, who is such a huge fan of horror movies, actually goes through sort of the cliche rules of the horror movie. You know, being rule number 1, if you have sex, you're gonna die. Number 2, if you do drugs or drink, you're gonna die. Number 3, you will not survive if you walk out of a room saying, I'll be right back. And number 4, the most important one, everyone is a suspect. I just thought it was so great the way they had taken these iconic rules that essentially Wes Craven and Kevin Williamson and, you know, all the other great icons of horror movies had made all of their films essentially be about, taken those rules, put them down, physically said them in the movie, yet then still followed them. I'd say one of my biggest likes about the movie is almost like the little Easter eggs that they put throughout the movie. Things like the janitor that Henry Winkler sort of addresses for all of 2 seconds is actually played by Wes Craven, but the janitor's name is Fred, and he's wearing a shirt that is very, very similar to that of Freddy Krueger, which was another character in a movie directed by Wes Craven. This movie, it was probably the first horror movie that I remember sort of like actually seeing on the big screen, and it really stuck with me. I mean, even to this day, if I go into a bathroom that has a multitude of bathroom stalls, I will always pick the one furthest away from the door, so that in case like an axe-wielding maniac comes like barging in and starts killing people in the stalls, I've got at least a little bit longer to try and formulate a plan so that he doesn't like hack me to pieces. Unless he starts at the far stall and then works his way down. I didn't think about that. One of the other really great horror movie cliches that they mention is actually said by character Sydney to the serial killer on the phone when she's talking about how the reason why she hates horror movies so much is that it's always like some serial killer who's stalking some big-breasted dumb bimbo who can't act, who's so stupid that she runs upstairs instead of out the door like she should if she's being stalked. And then in the very next moment in that scene, she turns around and does the exact same thing and goes running up the stairs when she should be running out the door to safety. So my review in a nutshell for Scream, I think this movie is great. It is an awesome horror movie. If you haven't seen it yet, you really do need to. It is a great introduction into the horror movie genre if you're not a big follower of horror movies. And all in all, it's definitely a goer. I say go and watch it. Anyway guys, that's me, Chris. Keep an eye out on the SourceFed channel this weekend. Hopefully I'll make it into their review video. If not, still watch it either way. The guys are freaking amazing and they're hilariously funny. If you want to, like the video and subscribe to my channel, but definitely comment down below. Tell me about your thoughts on the movie, whether or not you're a big horror movie buff or not, and why don't you tell me about another horror movie that you like? I'm always on the lookout for a good scare fest. Anyway guys, that's me. I will see you next week.